Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. Welcome back to the TED Show. I'm super excited to have our guest on today. This is Jerry Ross with the National Entrepreneur Center. I always go entrepreneurial, but this is, if you don't know, you're going to be amazed at where it is, what it does, how it impacts our community, and I bet it's the best kept secret in Orlando. Welcome, Jerry. How are you today?
I'm doing great. And thank you for having me on, giving me an opportunity to tell the story.
I'm super excited. I'm excited to learn more because, as I told you before, I used to work in Fashion Square Mall, and that's where you are. But before
Yes.
we get into the center, I told you the audience loves to know a little origin story. So tell them about you.
Oh, uh, I am one of 11 children, grew up in Southern Ohio. And so my dad said, you really should go to college and you should really pay for it. So I have been an entrepreneur all my life. And so I sold my first business when I graduated from high school. I
Wow.
sold my second one when I graduated from college. And then I went to work for the Bell System, one of the largest corporations in the world, where I learned things like measurement and metrics and things that I didn't know as an entrepreneur. I went to a software company where we went public. And then I said, I've got to get back to my entrepreneurial roots. And we moved to Orlando in 1989 to help a friend of mine get his business started. And it was horrible. I couldn't have
I
worked
made you
any
laugh.
harder.
You can look back and say that now, but I'm
That's right. I couldn't have worked any harder, and we were cash flowing, but we weren't making enough money, and so that was a hard lesson. And so within about a year, I'd gone to work for another company that was getting out of Florida and retrenching back to Atlanta in the early '90s, where it was kind of a recession period of time. And they had this little lighting business that they hated, and they said, get rid of it. And I said, I can fix it for you. And they said, no, we hate it, get rid of it. And I said, I'm not moving to Atlanta, so why don't you let me buy one of these and see if I can make this idea work. And that was in 1991. And so if you've ever seen those searchlights up in the air that go around like this at the car dealership,
yes.
those were mine.
No way.
Yes. and, and so I bought one of those little trailers in 1991. And by 93, we were opening an office in Atlanta. By 1995, we had diversified into the film business because we could provide light effects for film using the same kind of lights. We got into the concert business because of the same light is used to follow the performers around on stage and follow spots. And so we became one of the largest suppliers of xenon light in the country
I had
to the
no idea.
concert business, the film business. If you've ever seen the shuttle lit up on the launch pad at night,
Yes.
uh, those were my lights.
No way.
Yes,
So
and
cool.
and so the first attempt here was disastrous, and I used to have brown hair. Uh,
Didn't we all, my friend?
that's right. And so, but the second attempt, we had great clients. We had a great team, a great staff, and we grew that business and were eventually bought out by a New York Stock Exchange company. So that's the entrepreneurial story that people, same person, same work ethic, two different results. So after that, I said, how do I help and the community? And I was working with the Small Business Development Center at UCF to coach businesses, and eventually the National Entrepreneur Center opened, and but I was an entrepreneur, so I said, I've got to go. I got
I
another
got
idea,
this.
and so I did a magazine, and I was building warehouses and flipping properties, and they said, we really need an entrepreneur to run the Entrepreneur Center. So I came in 2007 and said,
You've been there that long?
I have 16 years. This is the longest I've been anywhere.
I
So I'm just
didn't
having a ball.
know.
I'm just having a ball helping other entrepreneurs. And what our community started in 2003 really was this idea of how do we all collaborate for the good of the small business community? And that was way before entrepreneurship was cool. And so today, entrepreneurship's cool and everybody's doing
Oh,
entrepreneurship
it's the
programs.
buzzword, right?
Yeah. But back in 2003, that was a strategy that said, how do we meet our small business community where they are, and get them the tools they need to move them forward. And so um, from 2003 to 2007, um, it was that period of time that took that partnership to be recognized in a Biz Journal survey of 55 cities as Orlando being the best place in America to start and grow a small business. So it was the visionary leadership of our community that made this happen. And so we're standing on their shoulders.
We were talking before we went live that until very recently, I didn't know about the National Entrepreneur Center. And it's in my own backyard. Used to work there. I shared with you at Musicland and Fashion Square Mall. I didn't know it existed. And then even when I found out it existed, I wasn't really sure what you did. So it's the best kept secret, like I mentioned earlier, but I want it to not be the best kept secret. I want everybody and their brother and sister to know about it, because the services that you provide, the platform that you provide, and your 20,000 square foot facility there really is an untapped resource, I feel like, for Orlando business. So let's take a deep dive into the center and tell us about what's happening over there and what it does.
You know, it's really unique, and in the community, it doesn't exist anywhere where they have 16 nonprofit, independent business support organizations all sharing one facility. And so that is very efficient for those nonprofit organizations, because we don't have 16 training rooms and 16 conference rooms and 16 phone systems. We all came together and said, we can share these resources. And that became very efficient. So it lowered the cost of all of those nonprofit organizations. The second thing is it made it very efficient for entrepreneurs to visit one location and get help, most of it for free, from 16 different organizations that all have a single mission, and that's to help our small businesses grow. So we coach and train on average here at the center every year about 15,000 people. And so no one in the country is training 15,000 people in a single location for small businesses every year.
Okay, go back to that 15,000. So when you say training, what does that look like? 15,000 people. Again, I didn't know who knew. So to me, that number already is amazing.
It is. And it's amazing to the world, because that doesn't happen everywhere. So when I say 15,000 were coached and trained, that means, and that's an average year, that means they came in and they sat down in a training seminar and learned about marketing or QuickBooks or management, leadership, how to start a business. Those are seminars that are taught here, and that makes up part of our training. The coaching is absolutely free. A business can go online and say, I want to meet with a coach for free to talk about the specifics of my business. And they can come in and meet with a coach, either from SCORE or the Small Business Development Center or Prospera, absolutely free of charge, and talk about the specifics of their business. And as an entrepreneur myself, I used to tell my wife, I need to talk to someone that doesn't work for me.
Yes.
Because they all have a dog in the race.
Yes.
And I need to talk to someone that has more experience than me, because, you know, you always come across these things that you go, I don't know what to do.
Because you have a dream and a vision as an entrepreneur. That doesn't necessarily mean you have any of the business tools you need to make it successful. And then when you do start to make it successful, you don't want to, you want to talk to some other people who've been through it, which is why the coaching is important. And the opportunity for them to share. I've been in the same boat. I'm like, wow, I'm doing really great, but I have nobody to talk about what I want to do better or what's not working and how do I fix it? Because you can't talk to your staff normally about that.
Right.
You want to talk to somebody who's been there, or at least has been at that level of entrepreneurial spirit that you are. So I love that, because I wish I had that back in the day.
Well, and that's what I say every day. You know, I say, you know, the business that I was struggling with here originally, I could have used the help that people get here every day. And asking for help and assistance is not a sign of weakness. No. It's a sign of maturity. to say, I've never done this. And so even the folks that like come out of the research park at the university, they may know everything about lasers and nothing about marketing or nothing about bookkeeping. And so, no matter how much we know about our business, there's always something to be learned here, uh, whether it's how to do it better. Many times, as people grow, their challenges change, And so, when I had 2 employees, it was different than when I had 10. And so, to have a place where you can go and talk to someone specifically about your business is the strategy that we have used as a community to say, how do we meet our small businesses and help them grow? And as a result, the 4 years before COVID, 4 years in a row, Orlando, Florida led the nation in job creation.
Wow.
And that is not a surprise to us. That was a strategy to say, how do we meet businesses where they are here and move them here because they get an exponential increase in jobs?
It's amazing. I think what's fascinating to me too is that because we have so many businesses wanting to come in here, then what that creates is not just jobs within those industries, it creates entrepreneurial opportunities around those businesses. And that's where I think a lot of people might have an idea, hey, this group, this technology group's coming in. I may not do that, but I have an idea on how to support them, which is a business that they create. But how do I do it? And they can come to you for that.
Absolutely. And folks come from other regions with different ideas and different experience, and they say, "Hey, I'm here, and I used to do this where I was from." Especially if they're coming from South America and other countries, they say, "I want to import these products. I think they'll sell here, or I want to provide services because." Our theme parks are like governments, they buy a lot of stuff and they need a lot of services. And so even the folks that are painting contractors and landscaping contractors and those kind of things, their services are needed. And what happens sometimes is they say, I'll start off small, and they start to grow and they get some opportunity. And then they say, okay, now I've got a new set of challenges.
Yes.
Access to capital becomes a big one.
A huge one. So I understand completely how you help the entrepreneur and how you help the potential entrepreneur. What can we as a community do to help the National Entrepreneur Center? What can we do to support and give back? And I know you talked about having coaches that donate time. I'm sure they donate time, especially since it's free of charge. How can we as a community embrace that? Because honestly, when we do that, we're also growing our opportunity as entrepreneurs to meet other entrepreneurs, to meet potential people who could partner with us, who could support us, and we can support them. And it's all better for the community.
Absolutely. The number one thing that we try to do and that the community can do to help this amazing experiment is tell their friends and neighbors. We all have friends or neighbors or people that we golf with or bowl with or go to church with that are struggling, and they don't have to do it alone. That's one of the myths out there, that people think, hey, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, that means I'm going to pull myself up by my bootstraps and do it by myself. And that's horribly wrong. You don't have to do it by yourself. There's lots of resources that are paid for by our community here. And so tell your friends and neighbors that they need to get connected. And especially after COVID,
yes,
when everyone felt so isolated, we were doing everything we could to reach people in their homes to say, it's okay not to be okay right now, but also we can do this as a community together. And I think that has helped us rebound from the closure. The other thing you mentioned, our SCORE chapter is made up of about 50 coaches that volunteer their time to mentor other businesses. And so what we try to do is, if somebody comes in and they're in the jewelry business, we try to put them with someone that has experience in that. Doesn't always match up, but business experience is shared. And sometimes just knowing that you're not crazy
Because we've all felt that as an entrepreneur. We've
Exactly.
all felt, what am I doing? Why am I torturing my family and my friends with this? Why am I not just going along with the flow and being a clock in, clock out kind of
Right.
person? It makes you feel like, oh my God, I have this great dream, but maybe it should never have come to fruition. And that's not true. But you need the resources. And we're so blessed to have you all here in our community. I'd love to volunteer my time, by the way, as a coach. Anytime, I would absolutely love to do that. And I think during the great resignation, which all happened during COVID, a lot of people realized, all right, I don't want to work for the man, as we used to say in the old days. I
Right.
want to figure out how to follow my dream on my entrepreneurial idea. And what an amazing resource to have to
Well,
develop that and actually see it come to fruition.
and some of that is, being able to think through it logically with someone,
Yes.
to get a plan, because your family and friends love you, and so you say, I want to do the cookie business, and they go, oh, you make great cookies, that's wonderful, and they love you and they want to support you, and so coming in to see a coach who's not invested can say, but how are you going to make money? Do you have the experience you need, to kind of inject some reality into that? Uh, and so I think that's necessary.
Great.
But secondly, to say, let's think through, how you scale. Are you going to be able to make enough money? Because most of the time, even great ideas run out of time and money. And
Yes.
so if you're not planning, a runway of enough time, you don't get there, and that's sad,
You don't.
because
Especially
every one
because
of
your
these boarded
family.
up.
Go ahead.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Every one of these boarded up buildings that I see, that was somebody's dream, and so
Somebody's huge dream, especially the restaurants and
yes,
and just because your family has told you all along that you're amazing at something, you may have a gift, but you still have to have the business acumen to make sure that that gift gets followed through on, and that you can be a sustainable business that isn't just something that's eating you alive, then it becomes a chore rather than your dream and your entrepreneurial spirit.
it becomes
You
a
actually
nightmare.
are, it's draining if you don't have the support. So I'm excited. Jerry, tell them the best way they can reach you and find out more and get involved and tap into in my opinion, one of the best kept secrets, untapped resources we have in our Central Florida area.
The easiest way to connect with us is, the website, which is nationalec.org, which is National EC for Entrepreneur Center.org. And we've just launched, in the last few months, the online version of the National Entrepreneur Center,
Amazing.
which is at bizlinkorange.com. And BizLink Orange took this bricks and mortar model that is amazing, and the envy of other communities, and we went from 16 partners to 60
Wow.
regional partners that
Wow.
people can access online. And so what happened was, with the shutdown, the COVID shutdown, people accepted virtual training and virtual coaching, where we always had that before, but people were like, "No, I really want to come down and meet someone," and and with COVID, you couldn't, and so,
Right.
Zoom and WebEx, became normal. And so what we did was, we took this bricks and mortar model, which is limited by our real estate and our space, and we broke down the walls and said, uh, now we're virtually available to anyone. So we have now guides that people can download to say, how do I get started? How do I research a business? How do I get licensed? How do I do international trade? So you can, from home in your jammies, pull down a guide and say, this kind of gives me something to think about. It also has a business calendar for 6 county, business events, to say, I'm free tonight, maybe I'll go somewhere, what's happening. And it's, one of these tools that, will also say, because now we have 60 resources, that's overwhelming.
That's
Uh,
amazing.
you can click on the resource navigator and say, how do I navigate all 60 of these? And you go through the boxes and say, I'm an African American woman business owner, and I need help in marketing. And it will search automatically those 60 organizations and say, here are the three you should see.
It's absolutely amazing. All right, we have to have a follow-up show, and we've got to do more. I would love to continue to expose and bring what you do, what you all do to the rest of the community that does not realize how amazing of a gift we have in our own backyard. Jerry, thank you so much for being on the show. You guys go to nationalec.org, reach out to me, reach out to Jerry. If you have that entrepreneurial spirit, if you're struggling, whatever it is that you're going through or anything that you want to plan and dream, I want you to reach out to Jerry and his team and go to nationalec.org. Thank you for being on the show,
Ted,
Jerry.
thank you so much for helping us get the word out. We really appreciate that.
I'm super excited. All right, guys, we'll be back. You guys asked me, how do I get the coaching? How do I get help? Here's where you get it. Go to nationalec.org. We'll see you guys soon. Bye, everybody.